Pecs, welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my September reading wrap up, which is only a week late. Woo! So yeah, and even better, I managed to read more than I did in August. I managed to double what I read in August. I still didn't read the target of 10 in a month, but I did read 6 things, so that's excellent. To start, I felt like I read more. I think because I was doing so much exercise, so I was reading a lot on the treadmill. So I got through, 6 ebooks, but I was also listening to a lot of audio, but I didn't actually finish any of the things that I was listening to. So, which can sometimes be the way with audio. You feel like you're listening to a lot, but that's because audiobooks can be like 10, 12 hours. So that's a lot. Anyway, but I did read 3 things, and I did actually focus on one of the goals that I need to focus on, in that I haven't been reading enough literature with queer significant characters. So 3 of the books that I read had queerness to them. Of course, the other 3 were Austen variations, but it's me, what do we expect? So what did I read? I read Playing the Point by Ashley K. Broom. This is my second attempt at a foray into hockey romance. The first one I tried because I'm particularly interested in queer hockey romance. The first one I tried, I didn't get very far because I just wasn't vibing with the trope, which was hockey player meets fan of his who works in a smoothie shop. Wasn't really the vibe I was going for. This, Playing the Point, was 2 hockey players, and it was hockey player moves to rival team because of fallout when discovered gay in previous team, falls in love with his captain. Turns out that's the kind of hockey romance that I actually like. Entirely hockey players, not normal person and hockey player. So it was cute, it was sweet, it was a little bit steamy but not too steamy. But yeah, it had a writing style that I quite vibed with, and I got through it quite quickly. So that was positive. I'm going to have to see if I can. There's only a couple of other stories by that author, and they weren't really jumping out at me trope-wise. So I'm going to have to see if I can find a list of hockey romances that are between hockey players. So then I read The Sinister Booksellers of Bath by Garth Nix, which is, of course, the sequel to the book I read earlier in the year, which is The Sinister Booksellers of London, and the one that was actually nominated for the YA award, the Lodestar in the Hugos this year. And I don't think Garth Nix is attempting to write YA here. I think it's being marketed by the industry as YA, but I don't think it's actually YA because it's more university age. And just general fantasy. So I don't think it's actually YA, guys. But it was really good and I really enjoyed it. And this is, of course, on the queer list because one of the major characters is, I'd say their gender presentation is fluid. They generally present as male, but they also run around in like full-on Regency gowns. So so yeah, I'm counting it as queer because it kind of is. But that was fun, and it was sort of a sequel in that they had to drag our daughter of a god entity type thing back into things because one of our main characters got trapped in map, and there was like gargoyles that were trying to kill people. And she was ended up being hunted and ended up having to accept her father's offer to take on part of his role. And it was a whole big thing. But yeah, it was really cool and I really enjoyed it. I also then read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, which I've heard about for quite a while as a really great fantasy cozy read. And I picked it up because I was spending a lot of time on the treadmill. I needed another ebook. And I thought, you know what, it's probably time to read this. It's also queer because the main characters both present as female and they end up kind of semi-dating at the end. So it's cute. And it's essentially an orc gets to the point in her adventuring career where she does not want to have an adventure anymore. She wants to open a coffee shop. So she completes her final mission, gets her reward, which is a stone from like the creature that she killed, that's supposed to bring like luck. And she moves to this city that doesn't know what coffee is, because coffee is a new thing that gnomes have, but it hasn't filtered through the rest of the world yet. And she buys an old like stables and builds herself both a coffee shop and a new family and group of friends. Yeah, and it's sort of great and cute and sweet, and I liked it. And there's a sequel, so I will probably read that soon. Then here we go. The other 3 books were Austen Variations by some familiar names and some not familiar names. So, Handsome Enough to Tempt Him by Laraba Kendig. So this one was one where Darcy is literally at the altar waiting to marry his cousin Anne de Bourgh, and she says, "No, I don't want to marry my cousin. Can we stop?" And her uncle, the Earl, says, "Yes, of course." Her mother throws a fit. But then we move forward, and Anne is actually travelling, not married to Darcy, but is travelling with him and Georgiana, and they go to Netherfield to visit Bingley because of something that a debt that Darcy feels he owes Bingley. He's testing potential brides for Bingley. So it's a deal that they have, is that when Bingley likes someone, Darcy will then show interest to see if they are going to be tempted away by Darcy's greater wealth, and they usually are. But of course then they meet the Bennet sisters. And Jane is not tempted. And Darcy quite likes Elizabeth. So yeah, it's kind of cute. Then I read The Heiress by Lorena de Chiara. And this one is one where Mr. Bennet is, as a young man who is about to become engaged to someone he truly loves, gets compromised by Fanny Gardner, who is actually said other woman's cousin, who is also already pregnant because she gave herself to a militia officer who then disappeared. Much to Mr. Bennet and his mother's horror, but then the new Mrs. Bennet dies in childbirth, which is Jane. Mr. Bennet marries his true love, who also adores Jane, so Jane has a mother figure. Things go on, but Mrs. Phillips has convinced Jane that she is the heiress to Longbourn, but there's a broken entail or something in this one. But actually, Lizzie is the heiress, so when Mr. Bennet dies, Jane has rather a shock. Because she's built up her identity as the heiress to Longbourn. She's told Mr. Bingley that she is the heiress. Mr. Bingley has found out from other sources, no, she's not, and so he's pulled away. Jane gets very ill and has to try and make a life for herself. Although her sisters and her stepmother still love her very much, she has to reassess her identity. And Lizzie and Darcy, obviously, as usual, get back together. So that's the thing. And then there was one that I thought I had read, but it wasn't on my Goodreads. So maybe I read it in draft form when it was a piece of fan fiction. That sometimes happens. And then it gets pulled down and taken down and published. That happens a lot in this genre. But Master of Longbourn by Sidney Salyer. This has got a particularly cruel Mr. Bennet, who really doesn't give a hoot about his estate. He'd prefer to be in academia, and he has taught Lizzie to be quite cruel in her wit as well, and she can't see this until Mr. Collins, who's far more sensible than we're used to, comes to visit to assess what's going on with the estate he is going to inherit. And it turns out he's going to be a much better master, and so he tricks Mr. Bennet into signing away his rights to Longbourn, and he moves in and looks after the Bennets, and Lizzie has to reassess everything she's known about herself and her father. And of course, and also Mr. Collins is actually, this particular Mr. Collins is more sensible because he was he saved Anne Berg's life when Wickham threw a rock at her horse when she was a child, and so Sir Lewis de Bourgh took him under his wing, got him an education, and so he's known Darcy for most of his life as well. So they're already friends, and that's how Lizzie comes to meet him. So those are the 6 books that I read in September. It's better. Yeah, I'm not doing quite as well already this month. There's been some reading, but hockey is back, and I have been stressing over work things, and I have been stressing over uni things. Uni things are going to probably take a great deal of my attention, but I am going to do Deweys at the end of the month, so that will give me a chance to prop up my numbers a bit. But hopefully, yes, I will get a few more things read before then as well. But yes, always happy to talk books in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye.